Do you love the wet on wet floral oil painting technique but really wish you could do it in acrylics? Well, in this video I'm going to show you how. Hi, I'm Marion Dutton. I'm the author of the Healing Art book and the founder of MazArt Studio. And if this is the first time we've met, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you do enjoy the painting that's coming up, please remember to give me that all important thumbs up. So the purpose of this demonstration is really to show how acrylics can behave like oils, particularly with those beautiful wet on wet florals that are so popular at the moment. And I get asked all the time, can this technique be done in acrylics? And the answer to that is yes, if you use the right kind of mediums. Now I mix my own gel medium. I have a small amount in this container here, really small amount actually. You only need a little bit, but it really does help the paint flow and move around the canvas as though it was an oil painting. So that's what I'm going to demonstrate for you today, very, very quickly. I'm going to go into the area I want to work, maybe a little bit larger than what I'm going to be painting on, and I'm just going to put this gel all over. Now I mix my own gel using two different mediums, and I will put a link to the video so that you can see how I mix this gel. So I'm going to put that on in the area where I want this rose to be. Very, very thin coat. Now I'm using alizarin crimson. Again, these are all acrylic paints, and I'm using a chiseled brush. Now it is very important that you do use a really nice brush that comes to a very fine chiseled edge. You can see how lovely and sharp that brush actually is, and that's quite important for this particular technique. So I've loaded up the brush with alizarin crimson. And initially I'm going to begin with my basic shape of a rose. So again, we all know we've got a little bit of a cup area and then some petals. So I'm just going to very lightly begin giving myself that basic outline. So you don't just want to just do some random shape. You really want to be thinking of that rose as you construct this outline, but you really do want your edges to be nice and ragged. So you can really see how that medium is allowing this paint to slicken over this canvas area, really glide over the canvas. So at this stage it really does feel like it's an oil painting. So I'm focusing on that nice basic outside edge. I'm keeping this as a rose that's facing us rather than getting too complicated. I want to keep this very, very simple. The demonstration really is to show you how the acrylic gel can be used. Now while that's still wet, I'm going to get the dark centre in there. I'm using alizarin crimson and a little touch of black. I'm going to get that centre in. Again, if you've seen these paintings done in oils, this is exactly the same technique. Once you've got that centre button in there, I'm going to fan that out the direction that the flower is facing. Now I'm feeling this acrylic start to tack slightly now, so at this point I need to be looking to finish off and wrap this up, because it's start getting tacky and really become difficult to work with. So I'll put that in there. That's the underskirts of the rose, the underbelly. I'm just going to add a little bit more of that darker colour while it's still that little bit wet. Just pop that slightly dark centre in there. Now at this point we need to get out, let this dry, and then start reapplying the gel. So while that's drying off, the next stage I'm going to do is just put a little bit of a stem on there from the centre. And I'll twist and turn and get that little bud shape there. Again, this isn't really a painting about leaves or stems or anything like that. It really is a demonstration on how that acrylic gel can really work for you like a wet on wet oil painting would. So I'm going to get these leaves on just to put something in there. And now at this point I'm going to use a hairdryer and dry everything off. Okay, everything's been dried. I've used the hairdryer and everything is lovely and dry now, but of course we now need to actually pick out the petals. So again, I want to be able to work wet into wet and treat this as though it was an oil painting, even though it's acrylic. So what I'm going to do again is go back into my gel and give it a very light coating, maybe just going slightly beyond your the area you want to work. I'll bring a little bit over. It is a very, very thin layer that I'm putting on there. And now that that's wet, I'm able to go back to loading up the brush. And again, I'll just show you that. This time I'm going into some cadmium orange, again with that lovely sharp chisel brush. Notice that I'm only loading the brush just on that lower third of the paintbrush. It's not all the way up into the ferrule. If you get the paint into the ferrule, the brush will open up and you will not be able to form this lovely sharp chiseled edge. And that's really, really important for this technique. So now with the cadmium red, I'm going to begin picking out the back petals to begin with. All my strokes are always going to be directed to the centre of the flower. And you'll see that this just glides like it would if I was doing this with oils. I know many of you love the wet and wet oil painting technique, the floral technique, but you want to know if you can do this in acrylics, and hopefully this demonstration will really show you that it is possible to do that. So I've got the back layer of petals on there. I'm going to start with some foreshortened petals here at the front. So notice I've got the brush on the side and just pulling to the side. And then I'm going to start working on the skirts of the petal, the petals that have fallen away. And again, all of my strokes are always directed to the centre of the flower. That sharp chiseled edge, really, really important. And lifting off so that you taper off into the darker area underneath. And I'm just popping in a few extra little petals in here now. Where I've got spaces and it looks like we could pop one in there. I'm going to put another little row at the back as well, a little bit lower down. And I'm looking now just to get a really nice balance. Maybe a couple of little ones at the back, tidying things up a little bit and getting a nice balance. Now again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to dry that off and I'm going to pick out a few little highlights using a slightly brighter colour. Again, drying that off with the hairdryer. Again, this is nice and dry, and again, I'm going to just put the slightest amount of that gel medium on here and pick out a few little highlights. I'm going to use cadmium orange and again the chiseled edge of the brush, and we'll pop in a few little brighter highlights with the cadmium orange. Don't over highlight, it's always best to do less is more. But a couple of little highlights just to bring one or two petals into a sharper relief. I've added just a touch of white as well. And again, I'm using the chiseled edge and that flicking off stroke so that I'm able to get that tapering into the darker area. Pop on a little bit of a centre. I've got a little bit of purple there and a little touch of cadmium yellow, just using the corner of the brush. And I'm hoping that this demonstration is showing you how you can use an oil painting technique but actually use it for acrylics. I really do hope you've enjoyed this demonstration and it's given you some really useful tips on how you can paint flowers in acrylics. Thanks for watching.